travel quite a bit for my job, often driving myself across the country. While I generally enjoy these journeys, an incident from 2 years ago, somewhere in Arkansas, remains etched in my memory. I found myself on a quiet road, seemingly in the middle of nowhere, with grassy plains and occasional trees on both sides. My phone signal vanished, and with it, my directions. Night fell, and I realized I needed fuel. The lack of signal and the dwindling gas level added an unnerving layer to my situation. I decided to take the next exit, hoping for a gas station. About a mile later, I spotted a promising road on the right. I turned and soon saw a sign for a gas station, albeit 4 miles down that road. Despite the distance, I made the journey, arriving at a seemingly desolate gas station, surrounded by trees and wilderness. My phone still had no service. The convenience store connected to the gas station was closed, but at least I could still refuel. As I fueled my car, the eerie quietness struck me. No passing cars, no distant sounds, just an unsettling silence. Glancing towards the closed convenience store, I noticed a man standing behind it, seemingly watching me. The darkness and distance obscured details, and it sent shivers down my spine. Despite the unease, I continued fueling. When I finished, the man had disappeared. Relieved, I got back into my car, only to notice the man reappearing behind the building. A sense of foreboding washed over me, and I contemplated leaving before my tank was full. However, the desolation around me made me think twice. As I looked back at the man, he continued to gaze in my direction. Creeped out, I completed fueling. As I removed the pump, the man vanished behind the building. I breathed a sigh of relief, started my car, and checked my phone again. Still no service. Just as I was about to drive away, I noticed headlights behind the gas station. A car, seemingly emerging from the dirt behind the building, started following me. The realization hit me. The man was tailing me. I moved to the side of the road, hoping to shake off this unsettling pursuit, that he would pass me, but he stayed on my tail. Panic set in. I didn't know what to do. I couldn't drive to a police station because I didn't know their locations, and my phone had no service. I couldn't call the police or get directions anywhere. At least I had a full tank of gas, giving me the option to drive and hope to either find a safe place or lose the pursuer. I headed back toward the highway I had been on earlier. After driving straight for a while, anxiety overwhelmed me, and I made a random turn. Desperate, I continued making turns, hoping the persistent follower would give up. However, he remained right behind me. Eventually, I reached a slightly larger and busier road, yet no other vehicles were in sight. The car stuck to me like a shadow. I kept turning at every opportunity, but the pursuit persisted. After around 15 more minutes of aimless driving, I decided to go straight for a while. Tired of the constant turns, I drove down that street for a few minutes. Suddenly, the car behind me turned onto a random road, disappearing from my view. I couldn't believe my eyes, but it was finally gone. I cautiously continued driving, taking another turn to ensure the pursuer wouldn't reappear. Checking my phone, I still had no service. Determined to reach safety, I drove for almost an hour until finally regaining coverage. I immediately looked up directions to a nearby town, booked a hotel room, and then called the police to report the entire harrowing situation. I'm uncertain if they ever located the mysterious man. To this day, I wonder who he was and what he was doing. I'm grateful that I managed to escape unharmed. Shifting gears to a different memory, This incident occurred many years ago when I was about 10 years old. My parents and I would occasionally visit my uncle's house, a large property in the remote countryside about 40 minutes away. Despite the distance, family gatherings were common there due to the spacious land and a beautiful house. Decided to explore the woods. Despite the lush surroundings, my older cousins provided little company, leaving me to my own devices. One day, overcome with boredom, I ventured outside. My uncle's house had a basketball hoop behind it, and I began amusing myself there. Adjacent to the house was a vast woods, with a trail leading into its depths. Intrigued, I embarked on the unfamiliar path. The initial stretch resembled any typical forest trail, dense on both sides with a narrow walkway. After a few minutes, I encountered a less maintained area. The grass grew longer, and the trail seemed less traveled. At a certain point, the trail offered a choice between left and right. I opted for the left, continuing my exploration. As someone with limited hiking experience, the adventure fascinated me, providing a more engaging alternative to the solitude inside my uncle's house. I wandered down random paths, taking various turns for approximately the next 20 minutes. Eventually, I decided to head back, only to realize that I had lost my way. Panic set in as the reality dawned on me. I didn't know how to return. At the age of 10, smartphones weren't common for kids as they are today, leaving me to rely on my own instincts. Attempting to retrace my steps, I heard a noise behind me. My initial fear of an animal, possibly a bear or mountain lion, intensified. I quickened my pace, yet the noise persisted. Glancing back, I initially saw nothing due to the distance. Continuing to walk, the noise changed, no longer resembling an animal, but a person. Despite this shift, my unease persisted. Why would someone be walking in these woods? Upon reaching a straight stretch in the path, I looked behind and briefly glimpsed a man walking, adding an unsettling layer to my already nerve-wracking situation. Man remained a mystery to me, tall and somewhat thin. He kept his face obscured as he walked behind me in the woods. I increased my pace, desperately trying to find my way back to my uncle's house. Turning at various points in the trails, I noticed that he followed suit, maintaining a slow but steady approach. Feeling a sense of urgency, I decided to take a drastic turn. When the trail sharply curved, I dashed into the thick woods, sustaining scratches in the process. Lying on the ground, hidden in a bush, I heard the man deviate off the trail, adding to my anxiety. He seemed to be searching the area, possibly for me. After what felt like an eternity, he moved away, and the sounds of his footsteps gradually faded. Remaining concealed for about 10 minutes, I finally mustered the courage to leave my hiding spot. Nervously, I checked my surroundings, and not seeing the man, I cautiously returned to the trail. With no idea of my location, I walked in the opposite direction of the man for about 10 minutes, until miraculously, I saw my uncle's yard in the distance. I sprinted towards it, relieved to have found my way back. Upon re-entering my uncle's house, I sought out my parents and recounted the unsettling encounter. We located my uncle, and I inquired about the mysterious man in the woods. My uncle, perplexed, stated that nobody else should be on his property, which spanned many acres. Despite his investigation, my uncle found no trace of the man. The realization that the man had been trespassing added another layer of fear. I had initially considered the possibility of encountering a neighbor, but learning that there was no nearby property intensified my apprehension. The incident left me terrified, and I decided never to venture into my uncle's woods alone again. Happened. This unsettling incident occurred just last year. I was on a long 4-hour drive home, mostly during the night, using my phone for directions, which was mounted in front of me. I was absorbed in music and didn't pay much attention to the maps. After driving on a lengthy highway for over an hour, I missed the intended exit, leading me in the wrong direction for about 30 minutes. Realizing my mistake, I followed the directions to take a shortcut through back roads, seemingly in the middle of nowhere. The roads were dark, quiet, and deserted. On one particularly quiet road, my directions instructed me to turn left. After making the turn, I noticed a figure lying on the road ahead. It looked like a man lying on his side, facing away from me. The situation felt odd, and suspicion set in. Positioned in the middle of the road, he could block anyone passing by. Concerned, I stopped my car at a distance, with woods on one side and a grassy area on the other. In the almost complete darkness, I rolled down my window and yelled, asking if the man was okay. He remained motionless and silent. Deciding to call the police, I reached for my phone in its holder, but something caught my eye. A man emerged from the woods, heading straight for my car. Simultaneously, the man on the road started to get up. It became clear it was a trap. Swiftly, I shifted my car into reverse and accelerated, trying to create distance. Reversing at high speeds was challenging, and my vision was limited. Both men started chasing me, almost catching up. Upon reaching the initial turn, I increased the gap between us, then slammed on my brakes, swiftly turning to face the new road. The men were close, but not close enough. I sped away just before they reached me. Once at a safe distance, I called the police and provided the exact location of the incident. Opened, and a person stepped out. I slowed down, a bit uneasy about the situation. The person, a man, seemed friendly enough, but his sudden appearance in the middle of nowhere raised my suspicion. He approached and began talking, asking if I needed help or if I was lost. Politely declining his offer, I assured him I was just out for a run and didn't require any assistance. His demeanor shifted, and he insisted that he was just being a good Samaritan. Despite his reassurances, my instincts told me otherwise. I decided to end the conversation and continue my run. As I started to jog past the car, I noticed another figure inside, which made me even more uneasy. The second person seemed to be keeping a low profile. Feeling a bit paranoid, I quickened my pace, leaving the scene behind. However, after running for a few more minutes, I realized the same car was slowly trailing me. Panic set in, and I decided to deviate from my usual route, taking a turn onto a smaller road that led to a more densely wooded area. As I turned, I could see the car following. Fear surged through me as I navigated the dark and winding path. It became evident that the situation was escalating, and my sense of danger intensified. Desperate to shake them off, I sprinted through the woods, taking random turns in an attempt to lose the pursuing vehicle. After what felt like an eternity, I finally emerged from the woods onto another road. Gasping for breath, I looked around and realized the car was nowhere in sight. Relieved but still on edge, I ran back home, constantly checking over my shoulder. Once safely inside, I reported the incident to the local authorities. They promised to keep an eye on the area, but the mysterious encounter left me shaken. From that night on, I became more cautious about my surroundings during late-night runs, always remaining vigilant in the isolated landscape that was my temporary home. Still vividly remember that chilling encounter. The night took a terrifying turn when I saw a man in all black clothing and a ski mask stepping out of the car that had been following me. Reacting instinctively, I immediately turned around, my heart pounding. I continued jogging in the opposite direction, not daring to look back, but hearing the unsettling sounds of the man getting back into the car. As the car started driving after me again, panic set in. I had no phone with me, only my Fitbit and a single house key. The isolation that once felt peaceful now became a potential threat. The man in the car would easily catch up to me, and I was left without a means to call for help. In a stroke of luck, I spotted another car approaching from the opposite direction. Determined to seek help, I ran into the middle of the road, waving frantically to get the attention of the oncoming vehicle. The driver slowed down, and as the pursuing car went around us, the driver of the stopped car rolled down their window, seemingly concerned. Pointing to the car behind me, I quickly explained that it had been following me. The car passed us, and as it went out of sight, I seized the opportunity to run back towards my house. Thankfully, I made it back to my street and home safely. Once there, I immediately called the police to report the harrowing incident. This experience left a lasting impact on me, leading me to abandon night jogs in that secluded area. It was a stark reminder that even in the middle of nowhere, one could find themselves in a potentially dangerous situation. Although I no longer reside in that isolated location, the memory of that unsettling night remains etched in my mind. As I peered around the rock, I saw a man standing near our car, seemingly inspecting it. His presence raised immediate concerns, and I signaled for my girlfriend to stay hidden. Whispering to her, I suggested that we wait and observe before making any moves. The man continued to linger around our car, occasionally glancing in different directions, as if checking for witnesses. It was an eerie feeling being in the middle of nowhere, with just us, the stranger, and the darkening landscape. After what felt like an eternity, the man approached the driver's side of our car. My heart raced as I contemplated our options. With no cell service and no immediate help available, our vulnerability became palpable. Suddenly, the man abruptly stopped and looked around as if sensing something. Frozen, we held our breath, hoping he wouldn't notice us. After a tense moment, he turned away from our car and walked back toward the entrance of the parking lot. Seizing the opportunity, we quietly retreated further into the shadows, carefully making our way back along the trail. We walked briskly, taking alternate routes to avoid the parking lot until we reached the main road. Only when we were a considerable distance away did we feel comfortable enough to break into a run, putting as much distance as possible between us and that unsettling encounter. Eventually, we reached a point where our phones regained signal, and we immediately contacted the local authorities to report the incident. The experience left us shaken, and we decided to skip our original plan of continuing to the next hotel. Instead, we drove to a more populated area, opting for safety over convenience. The encounter served as a stark reminder that even in the serenity of nature, caution and awareness are crucial. That unsettling encounter during our hike continued to escalate as the person started walking towards us. Realizing the potential danger, my girlfriend and I retreated back down the trail. As darkness enveloped the surroundings, our instincts kicked in, and we veered off the trail to escape the pursuer. Navigating through the challenging terrain, we climbed atop a rock and maneuvered through dense brush. The steep climb proved difficult, but our urgency pushed us forward. Staying off the main trail, we moved in the direction of the parking lot, staying hidden from our mysterious follower. Within minutes, we reached the parking lot, emerging from the brush. The person was still somewhere behind us, and we wasted no time running for our car. Once inside, I quickly started the engine and sped away. As we left the area, I saw the person emerging from the trail we had taken, confirming that our decision to escape had been the right one. We drove down the road, leaving the unsettling scene behind us. Thankfully, we weren't followed, and we made a conscious decision not to make any more stops near sunset for the remainder of our journey. The unknown person's intentions remained a mystery, but their behavior suggested something far from benign. Reflecting on the incident, I was relieved that we managed to escape unharmed. It was clear that the person wasn't a park official, as they lacked any identifiable uniform, and their actions around our car were suspicious. The eerie encounter served as a stark reminder of the importance of caution, even in seemingly peaceful and remote settings. I'm grateful that we were able to evade that individual and continue our road trip safely. As we continued our road trip, the unsettling encounter near that isolated park remained etched in our memories. The mysterious person's intentions remained unknown, and the incident served as a stark reminder of the importance of vigilance, even in the tranquility of nature. We were grateful that our quick thinking and resourcefulness allowed us to escape unharmed. The decision to prioritize our safety over curiosity served as a valuable lesson, and we chose to avoid making any more stops near sunset for the rest of our journey. While the identity of that person and their motives remained a mystery, the experience reinforced the importance of staying alert in unfamiliar surroundings. As we drove away from that remote location, we felt a renewed appreciation for safety and the peace of mind that comes with it. Our road trip continued, but the memory of that chilling encounter lingered, a reminder to always prioritize caution and awareness, even in the midst of scenic landscapes.